This is Liars, Thieves, and Cheats, created and directed by Rook Bain, produced for Special Topics in Film Studies, Gangster Films. Before we get started, I do want to offer a content warning as this video will be playing clips and segments from each movie that will be presented on that will have cursing and extreme violence with blood and weapons. If you find that to be an issue, then I advise that you turn back now or look for another video. The goal of this video is to review three legendary gangster films, more specifically bank robbing gangster films, The Town, Den of Thieves, and Heat. The focal point of this video is to focus on the theme of addiction to a lifestyle. The characters displayed in each of these films is addicted to a lifestyle that does not bear fruit for them. Their lives are constantly illuminated by the chance of death or incarceration. While incarceration is an option, it is never the option that any of the bank robbers take in these films. The characters Donnie Wilson from Den of Thieves and Doug McCrae from The Town do escape and continue to live lives. But with so much destruction and turmoil to the rest of their gang, it's reminiscent of a classic Greek tragedy where one has a perfect rise to success and then a fall. This fall is death. Most of the members of these gangs choose death. They do not choose life. But what makes them get to the point of choosing death at the hands of cops with high-powered rifles? Each criminal depicted in these films is addicted to the thought that at some point they will have a heist, they will have a robbery that is so successful that they can leave the world and then go on to a life of luxury. They plan on paying for that luxury through crime. In Shaman's article, The Structure of Repetition in Cinema, Three Hollywood Genres gives significance to this repetition. Inbar talks about how repetition shapes storytelling. In each of these films, we have a repeated structure of planning, action, and then reflection. This repetition builds tension and then creates a rhythm and shows you who the characters are and how they act in the sequence of events that are going on in the film. Because we understand how these characters act, we understand their psychology a little bit. Some of these gangsters seem to have an adrenaline addiction. They get a high off of doing a robbery. They get a thrill from taking such a huge risk. Others need power and control, or at least the sense of it. So they go in, they control what people do, and with the money they make, they're able to control more about their lives. We see in Den of Thieves and The Town that these are poor people who need a way out of the system that they're stuck in. So therefore, they do the only thing they know how, which is crime. It's what they've seen the people older than them do. But they do not have a proper risk versus reward mentality. The scales are imbalanced. So they pursue gigs that are bound to hurt them, that are bound to not pay off in the way they need. But they're constantly under the illusion that they will get away with it. Although we see through the end of these movies that almost no one makes it out alive. Generally, they do get caught. Generally, the cop is smarter than them. These psychological aspects are in a complete juxtaposition with the pure professionalism of these criminals. They show up on time. They take the time and the effort to plan the heists, to plan the robberies. They get all of the aspects and semantics of the banks that they're going to rob, of the trucks that they are going to lift, and then they precisely plan a day to rob it, the masks to wear, the clothes to wear, the gloves to have, to wipe off the bullets of fingerprints. Yet, when it comes to self-control about life and when it's time to say, I can't do it anymore and I don't have the means to beat this adversary, they're not able to put down their guns and surrender. They have to keep on going. There's a lack of humility and of reality with these people. Let's examine the next two clips where we see first James Coughlin not surrendering when he's clearly caught and cannot escape the police. And then we see Neil having a conversation with Vincent in Heat when Vincent is telling him that he will take him down if he has to. And Neil says the same thing in an arrogant and cocky manner.
you. Hold on, Jimmy. Let me see those hands right now. You got 30 seconds, asshole. Okay, I surrender. I surrender.
You know, we're sitting here, you and I, like a couple of regular fellas. You do what you do, I do what I gotta do. And now that we've been face to face, if I'm there and I gotta put you away, I won't like it. But I'll tell you, if it's between you and some poor bastard whose wife you're gonna turn into a widow, brother, you are going down.
There's a flip side to that coin. What if you do got me boxed in? Then I gotta put you down. Because no matter what, you will not get my way. We've been face to face, yeah. But I will not hesitate. Not for a second.
Maybe that's the way it'll be. Or, who knows?
Or maybe we'll never see each other again.
We see that both of these criminals have a sense of invincibility, that they act as though that they are not humans, and that since they have planned so strategically and they have gotten down to the most meticulous aspects of their heists or robberies, that they will absolutely get away with it. But the tone and theme throughout these movies is that there's no chance for survival. So, why do they keep on doing it? Well, J.P. Tellett has a good point in his article, Fatal Cappers Strategy and Enigma in Film Noir, and he talks about the futility of robbers' actions. He talks about how in capper films, we have people who have tons of meticulous planning and strategy, but their efforts always seem to turn tragic. This resembles the point made earlier about how these criminals, their stories reflect and resemble a classic Greek tragedy. While they plan and have actions that seek success, their fate always goes back towards death. It reminds one a little bit of Oedipus Rex and how, even though he is given this idea from an oracle that he's gonna kill his father and marry his mother, he thinks that he can take fate into his own hands. And in the same way, we have these criminals taking fate into their hands by planning these heists and robberies with perfect execution and perfect plans. But the robbery itself generally becomes pointless because their goals are impossible. They're never really able to escape. They always end up dying. They never give up in time. The Tellett article therefore argues that while these robbers seek agency and control through robbing and making money,
their actions are ultimately futile. Their strategic brilliance only delays an inevitable fate of destruction. These robbers, therefore, have become addicted to the lifestyle not merely for the thrill or for the financial gain, but because the act of robbing represents a pursuit of an illusion that they can have control, identity, and meaning in a world that where they find themselves without autonomy, where they find themselves with no agency. First, their lives fall into a pattern of repetition where they have planning, executing, and reflecting. This planning, executing, and reflecting gives them something to do. It gives them something to be. This mirrors the cycle described by Shaman and traps them in a loop that never actually gives them satisfaction or resolve. They always have to go back to the cycle of planning, executing, and reflecting on their crimes, or they don't know what to do with themselves. Second, as Tellet's concept of the fatal caper shows, this cycle is ultimately self destructive. They always have a precise plan, they always have strategy, but it is doomed and it always unravels due to human failure or to the plan failing or to the cops getting onto their case and them having heat that they don't know about, or simply because they're not good enough. This reinforces a deep sense of futility in all of their plans and their life. So while they get identity out of planning, executing, and reflecting, those actions don't ever lead to anything. This whole arc represents that Greek tragedy talked about first, where the qualities that make robbers interesting, that make them able to do their missions, the boldness, intelligence, arrogance, the strengths that they have, also ensure their downfall. They make them get to a point that they will live in an illusion that in the end, they can make enough money to live a good life and they won't have to rob anymore. But the only life they actually know how to live is one of robbery and crime. So they will always go back to it and they cannot escape a fate that resolves in death.